are reading it deeply from our population census results, which were released just this very Thursday. If we don't if we don't chip into it and work properly towards it, we can have a rude shock. This number we are having here, which has come up of people, it has been even broken region per region. It is even educating us how much of the social services we should put in each and every corner of the country, and whether we are working on it for the present or we are working for it even in the future. So all these are very, very serious challenges. Now there is also another challenge which again comes with those population figures. What are you going to feed on them and you don't destroy your environment and you continue feeding on them from January to December? Already our friends, the youth who are in schools have developed a tendency of cutting off 2 weeks, 1 week, and when you ask the reason, it has to do with feeding. And when schools close and it is feeding challenges, you also ask a question whether in the homes the feeding is okay. You find that the answer is not convincing. And we know that in Africa, a country like Tunisia, Egypt, and even Sudan, they had issues to do with the bread, with the wheat flour. Even at one time, my Zambia, I constantly refer to Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, the party and its government were having this serious issue of how to feed the people. And the people came on the streets and things were not so easy. But in Uganda, we just needed to intensify our food production capacities and our storage capacities, and even tapping in these very youth with their strong energy. Okay? And we produce more, such that the more we have more food, the more we cushion our population and we don't have serious worries. And by the population which has ample food, it is also not susceptible to many diseases, because when you are feeding very well, even a mosquito may not easily joke with you. It will find your body when it is quite very strong. At the same time also, we have just had this episode of where NEMA is going in very hard that you move out of the wetlands. Those could be signs that maybe our population in certain areas is shooting and people have no viable immediate alternatives except to jump into such empty spaces which seem to be relatively cheaper, but in the end up to be very costly. So these are sort of issues which the government has to plan very hard and put into the perspective. Now, when you look at Kampala and its suburb, almost each road is having a very aging minibus. Which you cannot give the next 5 years or to 10 years to operate.
I'll give you more time, Doctor.
Yes, okay.
Let me bring in one of the Generation Z. The majority in Uganda, according to the census preliminary results, and according to the statistics in the region, show that you, the youth, who happen, you have called yourselves the Generation Z, how significant are you, but also you are part, as you made it clear in introductions, that you are part of the census exercise 2024. Perhaps you would help us share the experience and how the exercise went, in that we may have the boldness and understanding of the exercise, but also be good terms with the numbers that we have really had. 45 million, 45 to 50 million Ugandans is not a bad number. And what does that mean to you, Junior?
Thank you so much, Ndugu Amon. Dear listeners of UBC Radio, and particularly listening to Ground Zero, I want to thank you for listening to us and for sharing with us always. The Generation Z, I want to first of all appreciate the young people of Kenya for coming up and showing that they really matter.
After destroying properties and
I don't want to call it that way, but you know, in Uganda and basically in Africa, we are the majority, but the minority when it comes to service delivery. Mm-hmm. And that is why you really see a couple of issues to do with unemployment, a couple of issues to do with under budgeting when it comes to planning, meaning that we really need a voice. However, it is really bad. It is really bad for the people of Kenyans to destroy the people, the property, and they should have at least had some peaceful demonstration than clearing the streets and stealing and looting. Back to census, I am not going to represent you, boss, whether they achieved or whether they had messes, but I will share experiences as somebody who participated in the counting, and of course the results that we are given. The 45.9 million population is not a small figure. If you compare, if you really compare to where we came from as Uganda, from 19, look at, I will just look at the statistics from the time Museveni went to the bush and his colleagues, 1980 when we had 12.6 millions. Then look at 1991 when we have 16.7 millions. And just look at how many years from then, 2024, we are growing at a terrific speed, 45.9 millions. So meaning that there has been an increase in production, an increase in fertility rate. But the question comes, are we also increasing when it comes to issues in terms of the economy? That's where we have to ask ourselves. When it comes to the previous budget, 72 trillions, this gives us a clear indicator that there has also been growth in the economy, in the GDP of this country. But as the younger people, where do we lie? And like Doctor was saying, when you look at the corruption index in this country, this leaves us really behind. The young people are not really getting clear services, but our senior cadres and seniors in these government offices are really pocketing billions of money, which really gives us a question, a rhetorical question, whether Uganda is really for us. However, I also want to appreciate the president for being clear in guiding the government in setting up clear offices like the State House Corruption Unit, the IGG office, and other NGOs that are trying to help here and here to ensure that corruption is curbed down. But there is a lot to be done. With the census, when I was the challenge that I realized in the previous census that we had a couple of questionnaires. People were really bored, and the president also stated it that questions were very many. If you look at the 5 questionnaires: household, institution, accommodation, floating, community. If when it came to finishing all these questionnaires and somebody wanted to go for work, probably you'd really see that even when they were supposed to give you clear data, they would somehow create some doubt. The questions would create some doubt. Some people would say, why all these questions? Are you spies? So they would really ask a lot of questions when you're asking them some questions. However, I would state that myself also expected a figure of over 46 to something millions, because when you look at different people in different regions, they say that they were not counted. Reason being, people at the grassroots, we are not informed in time, and most of them, if you look at the source of information that most people have in this country, especially people at the grassroots in these they had to reach areas, really they were not counted. I would have asked UBOS or people in charge to at least add some time to count those people in hard to reach areas. And in some places, like in the eastern, in the northern, you'd see during census there were heavy rains, and you'd see some enumerators with their cappies suffering because of maybe the weather conditions. I would have seen UBOS and the government extend some days for those people, for those regions that were affected. But all in all, the census was very fantastic. It was positive. Those people that we reached out to were able to respond to some of the questions, and I pray that the government really sets parameters, clear indicators of really serving this huge number, this huge population of this country.
From your observation, but also in your explanation, one would think that we have not really considered all Ugandans, and perhaps if all Ugandans were put books, perhaps would have gotten a bigger number than this we have.
Yes, it is true, Ndugu Amon. In every achievement, there are always shortfalls, and we cannot say that it was really 100% progressive. However, we credit UBOS and the people the enumerators. They are really serious watchdogs because they were on ground to ensure that everybody was counted. But I will really say, as a young person, that the exercise was successful, though there were issues, there were challenges in some places of this country, in some regions. Like, for example, in Kampala, most of the challenges I faced myself was that I would go to a place early in the morning, because I was enumerating Kampala Central in Kamocha 1 parish. You'd go to this place is full of business people and working class. You'd go early in the morning to count, to enumerate. You find somebody has left for work at 6. So this person is coming as late or as early as 7 in the evening. So meaning that most of those people, if the enumerators were not so serious, or supervisors were not serious, you'd find some of those people were left uncounted.
Our dear listener from the other side of radio, we thank you for being part of us. This is UBC Ground Zero, and we are talking about utilizing the census preliminary results for national development. And in the studios, I have Deputy Inspector General of Government, Dr. Patricia Chan Okiria. Also have Dr. Christopher Luanga coming from UPC as the head of research geology school, and also a Councillor Junior Victor Kada, and also representing the Generation Z here on UBC Ground Zero. You can be part of the conversation on 0776 511 426 is the number you can send your messages or call, and you share your expectations. How best can we budget for and plan effectively for this number, 45.9 million Ugandans? How best can we fight corruption that has watered down all the achievements that we would have realized as a country, and it remains one of the challenges that the country is facing. 776-511-426 is the number you can call, and I'll be also joining another economist from Sesebag Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group to share, to have the economic understanding of the 45 that number that we have from our population census, as according to the preliminary results that we get. Allow me go back to Dr. Patricia. The numbers that we have compared to the percentage of the public servants, 45 million notices for the 6 million people, but about 1% of this population is the one that takes all the budget. But we also, of recent past and even ongoing, we have had these public servants that have been summoned. Should the people of Ugandans have hopes that perhaps the leadership of NRM, these institutions, including IGG and others, now have remembered to take it serious, and we should expect good results from these summons, that these people perhaps are going to bring back the money for the people of Uganda, but also other people are coming to follow them. If you can make sense of the ongoing arrests of the members of parliament.
Thank you very much. Amon, well, like it has been highlighted by Dr. Christopher Luanga, and even Victor brought it out, it is time for this country to basically give hope to the people, because the situation does not look good at all, especially in respect to corruption. And the cases you have highlighted, I think, show that there is a problem with some leaders, especially in this country, especially when a leader can, with impunity, take away all that money and just keep it in their houses. It is impunity of the highest order. But as a nation also, in our study in the Inspectorate of Government, it shows that we lose lots of money to corruption. Uganda faces significant challenges with corruption, and it costs us close to 10 trillion annually. So when you look at the cost of procurement, corruption in procurement, for instance, we lose a lot of money. And you realize that government has invested a lot of funds to projects, and for some of these, they are either grants or loans, and this involves colossal sums of money in a bid to improve the lives of our people. And over the years, we have made an observation that a lot of hemorrhage occurs in government projects and programs. And as I said earlier, many times we get substandard works, ghost projects, due to the hand of corruption. And that is why, as the Inspectorate of Government, we have taken keen interest and engineered an approach to help us to squarely deal with this problem of corruption at project level, so that our people get value for money and also benefit the full intended objectives of the project. So the need for quality service delivery is what we are focusing at. And as IG, again, we believe that in the strategy of taking the war against corruption to the citizens, and the role to be played by each one of us in ensuring that projects are maximally implemented and enhanced service delivery in the lives of the people, especially at the grassroots. So you find that when the inspectorate does its work, in order to ensure transparent resource allocation, in promoting accountability, in preventing corruption and maximizing the impact of these funds, we have done regular audits and reviews. The inspectorate, we have been able to conduct regular audits and reviews, especially in government agencies, in programs and projects, to assess the allocation and utilization of resources. When we scrutinize budgets, expenditures, procurements, and performance indicators, we are able, as the Inspectorate of Government, to identify discrepancies, inefficiencies, or even potential mismanagement of resources. You have rightly given an example of the leaders who have been found with their hands in the money bags. They are supposed to face the due process of the law. And that is the reason why I am careful not to comment on the cases, because as lawyers, we know that when a matter is before court, or it's going to be tried in court, we are sub judice. We don't discuss it because sometimes it jeopardizes the investigation or the process of the court. And also we have done monitoring and reporting. The Inspectorate has established a robust monitoring and reporting mechanism, which basically helps us to follow the flow of resources, and we are able to detect any irregularities and discrepancies. And here we can implement systems for real-time monitoring, for data analytics, for risk assessments, to ensure that there is transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption, even in resource allocation. We have had experiences of cases where in the process of doing this monitoring and on-spot checks, you find that there are so many gaps all over the place. So we then come up with our recommendations and swing to action, and we have ordered for the demotion of some people. We have ordered for the interdiction of some people. Last financial year alone, we directed for the interdiction of close to 30 chief administrative officers, because they are the accounting officers in the districts. They are the gatekeepers in the districts. And when money gets lost, then they are fully responsible. We have also encouraged whistleblowing to report instances of fraud, corruption, and instances of misallocation of resources or misappropriation of resources. And here we have been able to establish that when there is confidential reporting mechanisms, we ensure whistleblower protection, and we investigate the reported cases and hold accountable those involved in corrupt practices. I can give you an example of some districts in eastern Uganda where we have Bugiri and another district. We actually arrested close to 13 people in Bugiri alone because they were involved in corruption fraud, where fraud is now done as a racket. And we are actually going to have them prosecuted in courts of law. We have asked them to resign from their positions of responsibility, and we are looking forward at recovering that money through plea bargain in courts of law. So I believe that when we have a collaboration and partnership with the citizens out there, then we can encourage them to keep illuminating the face of corruption to us. Because when we collaborate with other oversight bodies as well, and the private sector, we basically strengthen the effort to ensure transparent resource allocation. And here, as the Inspectorate of Government, we are able then to promote this partnership and strategic alliances, basically to share information and best practices. We get a lot of information from citizens, especially in respect to cases of corruption, bribery, abuse of office, and so on. When we implement this strategy, we are basically working proactively to promote transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption in resource allocation. And as the Inspectorate of Government, we can be able to contribute significantly to fostering accountability, to preventing corruption, and even optimizing the efficient use of public resources, which will be beneficial for the society and even promote sustainable development in this country. And whenever we recover money which are proceeds of corruption, this money goes to the Asset Recovery Fund of the Inspectorate of Government, and later on goes to the Consolidated Fund, which is plowed back for national development. But I know that fighting corruption needs a holistic approach where everybody owns the war against corruption, and everybody can take part in the war against corruption. And this is why I am really appreciating the citizens out there for illuminating the face of corruption and making it really be scary for many. And with the time, we will be able to wipe, because people will be deterred. It will be deterrent, even as when we swing into action, arrest, prosecute, and use the other preventive approaches as well. I think it will have a significant impact. But maybe, Amon, one last thing I must talk about is the issue of values. It is very, very important for us Ugandans to go back to the drawing board and think about inculcating values in our children, because Uganda has got the National Ethical Values Policy, which was passed in 2013, and we need to disseminate it, because today it starts by somebody stealing a rubber or a pencil in class, and today the person is the one stealing billions of shillings. So if we inculcate values in our children, then they will have respect for one another. They will have respect for public property when they grow up. They will have respect for humanity and environment. You did mention environment. Today, we are having challenges with climatic change. In eastern Uganda, there are mudslides and landslides in western as well. We have issues of blockages of drainages and flooding. all over the place. And so value number one in our national ethical values policy is respect for humanity and the environment. If we pollute our own environment, or if we build on the on the wetlands, and tomorrow the floods come and sweep away those structures, then again we'll be the ones making noise that the government should help us. Now the government is saying you're here illegally. It is important that you move away and we conserve and preserve the environment for the good of humanity and for the good of citizens and for national development as well. So I think it's important for us to appreciate that from that perspective and to applaud NEMA for what they're doing to respect humanity and environment by causing people who are illegally settled in the environment and in the wetlands and blocking the drainage channels to move off so that the environment can reorganize itself and we'll be able to live in a healthy kind of environment. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Dr. Patricia. Alwanga, before I go for a break, you have had the IG Office of IG say that we have in the past financial years been losing about 10 trillion, and also Madam Patricia confirmed that sometime when she was here, but based on what is going through, I mean what is taking place, one person pocketing 164 billion, just single person, and many others, the rate it seems is increasing. Are you not? Are you worried that we may likely to have more than 10 trillion being lost in this financial year?
Thanks very much.
Or you trust the work of the IG and the other anti-corruption institutions that perhaps by the exercises that are going on and the summons and the arrests, we may lose less than what we've been losing?
Thanks very much, Comrade Amon Tega, and the listeners up there. Essentially, we members of political parties like UPC, which is ideological, we take corruption very, very serious. And we know that the only easiest and cheapest way of fighting corruption is to allow democracy, political parties, and governance deepen on the ground. And once it deepens, it can do a thorough job far much better than IGG can do, than police can do, because all these people we consider corrupt, they come from our societies. There is nobody, honestly, in the village who doesn't know a village chief. There is nobody in the village or in housing estates, whether they are upscale, who doesn't know a white-collar criminal. But now, when you don't have these genuine institutions which people identify with, then it becomes a little bit difficult for you to get that pinpoint information. But suppose, I'm just giving this as an example, all political parties were on the ground and were even watchdogs to LC, to all other supportive arms of government at a local level, corruption cases would come out very easily, and we would even be in a position to tell that so and so is corrupt. How is the church behaving with a corrupt person? How is the mosque behaving towards a corrupt person? How is what behaving towards a corrupt person? So my feeling is, much as we can have these standard institutions as government arms, we should not downplay the role of political parties in coming up with stability and with carrying the country forward. And I want to tell you this, and to all the listeners, the stealing of government resources started in 10,000s. it climbed in millions, it climbed in billions, and it climbed in trillions. But when you watch it,
and every time it climbs, does not
yes, and when you watch it
down, doesn't come down.
When you watch it, when it bought a permanent position, UPC was not in the picture, DP was not in the picture, UPM was not in the picture. We are following a certain system which could not detect the thieves and contain them. Because what was happening, you were allowed to campaign as an individual in the village, and you win a constituency as an individual. You don't have any team. You leave behind all which goes with you. So in such a situation, anybody can misbehave and you cannot apprehend because you don't have a structure. And tell me, what sort of reasonable manifesto can you have? Can you be campaigning to become an MP in a certain area and you say you will also tackle corruption? What instrument, what gadget, what infrastructure would you have? So those people took advantage of that. Now that political parties are coming up, and they are coming up in a big way, you know we shall have a way we shall handle most of these issues. And let me tell you, there is no single political party which wants to be accused of corruption. Okay? You can accuse it for any other things.
Even when there is evidence?
Even when there is evidence, they will be even the first to deal with their people. They will even be the first to deal with their people. Because you can, because it becomes serious. Okay?
All right.
Yes, you chip in.
I think most of you received or you read through the Auditor General's report of 28th January 2024. The Auditor General gave us the figures: 600,000 vacant jobs across various sectors and agencies of this country. He also gave us the 53 billion, the amount of money that we are losing annually that goes to ghost workers. These are the workers that are paid when they retired, they are non-existent, or even resigned. What does this leave us as a country? When you talk about the Generation Z that happened in Kenya, just look at the current statistics of the 22.7% of the young people. Just look at the just you boss gave us 18. Those that are around 18 to 30 years. These are the young people they gave us. I think that is according to the Uganda youth policy. But if you look at the international youth policy, gives us at least 14 to 38 age bracket when you're giving us the statistics of the young people. But Uganda only UBOS gives us from the age of 0 to 17. Those are children. Then ask myself, if you call a teenager a child, then you lower then you somehow increase the age bracket of the child to 17, from 14 to 17. Then you also count working population 55.6%. Then you give it 14 to 64 years. And Ndugu Amon, really, we need to discuss the results of the population census very keenly to see whether really somebody of 17 is still a child, yet is counted in the working population. Then, of course, when it comes to corruption, I'm not happy with this song. Corruption every day, every time and again. Even when I was born, people are seeing corruption, and nobody is concerned. They only pick the small fish and leave the big ones in the pond. So I really think I have suggestions, Ndugu Amon, maybe in the coming minutes. But corruption has to be, if it means killing life, I don't know how can even. But I think, like the other countries are doing it. Let's assassinate these thieves. This country will be a better place for us all.
That's a scarecrow to those that are taking. Arwanga, if you finish that and then I go for a break,
yes,
you can finish on your point before Akansasla kills all those who are stealing public funds.
Generation Z hijacked my microphone and has pushed in very extreme politics. Let me hope we shall not start by assassinating him. Because also I've worked with the younger people and they are too ambitious with materialism. You employ a younger man when you have struggled to put up something, the younger man may want to embezzle almost everything.
I think they're copying from you, the senior.
I don't know.
Let's go back to the values.
Yes, essentially, I would agree with my sister from Aigigi that her advice is very good. I work with the Uganda People's Congress, and I'm in charge of UPC Ideology School, which directly targets the youth to pass on those core values. But much as we are trying to groom you, we have these challenges. And our challenges are indeed summarized that we are experiencing what they call a youth bulge. Okay? You are so many at the same time, and we haven't prepared for you. Yes, sure. And when we try to address you that some of these things do them in a certain way, you refuse. Such that at your younger age, you are even parents. And as your parents, you give us a burden to look after you and to the unplanned grandchildren. However, you have started realizing some potentials of the voting power. Now, Comrade Amon, you are disturbed with the corruption, okay? And we have already seen some steps which some political parties are taking to their people they suspect to be with corrupt. Let corruption become a campaigning issue, okay? That this is how we deal with a corruption person. But I will not go for the medicine of Generation Z. We can simply demote those people from their offices. And I think UPC reached an extent in 1960s of expelling some senior people who were youth at that time. There was some embezzlement which happened somewhere, and a delegate conference had to sit and expelled those people, okay? We have had that experience. But to expel a member in a political party, it is not an easy process. A disciplinary has to sit, and it is forwarded to a national council up to the delegate conference, and that person is given a due time to answer back. So I feel that the only way we can handle this thing systematically is to start with our organizations we belong to. They can help us to fight it up. Then the other element also is that the government also created some weak points along the way. We used to have a government structure where we knew that salaries are passing through this procedure to this bank, to this what. Now there is so much of private sector coming in, of what coming in.
But we embraced liberalization, and you would expect to give the private sector an environment of that kind.
But now you are talking of a private sector being given that sort of autonomy, okay? But you are suffering very hard under the hands of the private sector, okay? The private sector is ever not very honest with all these processes, and you might find that it is the unfortunate private sector which you exposed to your civil servant,
okay,
who is facing a problem, okay?
All right.
And you are talking of a tendering process where more problems happen. Are they happening within government to government agencies? They're happening between private sector rivaling. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
That one is transparent. We are all
That for a short break, and I'm coming back in just a bit. Not to go away. I'm coming back with the second edition of UBC Ground
we
Zero.
work with everyone.
Yes, a break. Back in a bit.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
As Uganda works towards Vision 2040, UBC Radio is dedicated to the development of Uganda. Join us every day for transformative programs in English, Swahili, and Luo. This is UBC Radio.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize with the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health, entertainment, updates in education, on the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. The Education Forum program. Education Forum, a platform for trends and developments in the education sector. We are your reference and reliable source of information. The Education Forum, right here on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
A family is a group of one or more parents and their children living together as a unit. Sometimes, this unit extends beyond the nuclear family to include relatives and grandparents. Every Tuesday night at 10:15 p.m., UBC Radio brings you The Family, a radio show that navigates through family affairs for peace, harmony, and unity. Here on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Every Saturday, UBC Radio broadcasts the Information Hub, your one-stop dial radio show. Join us to learn and know more information about innovations, research, and developments. The Information Hub, knowledge is power, on UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that very short break. Ampaire Amonotega is my name, and this is UBC Ground Zero. We are on 5 radio stations: Voice of Bundubujo in Bundubujo, UBC Radio in Kampala, Magic 100 FM in Kampala, West Nile Radio in Arua, UBC Butebo, in Eastern Uganda and Magic 100 FM in Kampala. We are also streaming live on YouTube. Just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the conversation. It is the right time you call us on 776-511-426 and you share your concerns, opinions, or what you think needs to be done in this country to budget for the effective number that we have as according to the preliminary results of the Census 2024. And what do you think needs to be done to develop our country? 776-511-426. UBC Ground Zero.
Hello.
You're live and clear, sir.
Yes, this is Henry Baguma.
Most welcome, sir.
I'm on. Thank you very much for the program.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes, my is about corruption. Really, we need to change the term. The word corruption can't work. In fact, corrupt people in this country and the world is praised because they corrupt here. They put up buildings, they sponsor people, they enter politics, they win, and then they're being praised everywhere because of what achievements they go through after the corruption. But I think the word should be stealing thieves. If we change that word, if you said anywhere, in any meeting anywhere that the man is a thief, I mean, he will be immediately abandoned. People look for him. When you say that man is a thief, nobody wants to leave until he has also left because the city will steal if they are not there. So thieves are more closely watched and abandoned than corrupt people. Corrupt people, on the contrary, are being praised. They are the ones everywhere. You go to Mulago, you corrupt somebody, you get medicine, go home. But when you say that man is a thief, he stole Mulago, he stole the government drug, everybody will look for that person. So my view is the word corruption is outdated. It can't fight. If you have to fight to eliminate those bad people, let's use the name stealing and thieves. For example, in the village, everybody fights a thief, and everybody knows that man is a thief. That man is a thief. Whenever you are walking, they look to you because they suspect you are later to do something bad. But when they say that man is corrupt, now you are outdated. That's my contribution, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for being part of UBC Ground Zero. Ground Zero.
Good morning, alive at the best roundabout here. I'm Juma.
Juma, finally, I have the IGG in the studios, and we've been complaining in most of our programs about corruption, and we have the horse's mouth you must have heard from her.
It is my pleasure and a pleasure to everyone from maybe up to here, Busega. We are glad today to meet the concerned office. Greeting to her or him.
All right.
In Uganda, constitutionally, I need the following institutions, like the DPC, the CID, the DPP, to come up on board to tell us what are the proper procedures of giving someone who is a suspect. Then the second one, how do they apply their arrest period? Who exactly deserve to be arrested? Whether publicly or at a certain given area, they should come to us to advise us. That balancing of the law. For me, you know me, I'm always very spoon. Anita Mong was a suspect from Iron Sheet for Karamoja. The same Anita Mong, who's the speaker, she's the head of commissioners in parliament. And we are seeing those commissioners, some of them, already giving answers to the concern, whereby the law has taken its position. But now, even we are blessed. Nobody is above the law. But I'm saying the Speaker of Parliament, this current one, she is above the law. You can't take the small fish, you leave the mother fish, because this mother fish, you expect another season to deliver another children. Another small fish are coming. What do we do? She went to certain constituency. She back up an member of parliament standing at the podium, assuring those people from that constituency that when your child has misbehaved, deserves to be punished. So long as what she came back and give you some, you share with them, she's sharing with you. Is that the way we are going to fight this corruption? I sign out. Thank you.
Welcome, Juma, from Nebi and also in Busega, for being part of UBC Ground Zero today. 776-511-426 is the number you can call. I can see so many messages coming through. I would be reading some of them. And John from Palisa, you say the population is increasing when service delivery is decreasing. What is the future of Uganda? Melon in Bulambuli, you say, I want to thank Dr. Patricia Ochan for always coming to talk to the people. Many others are in their offices, but when you tell them to come and meet the people, that is the worst they could ever hear in their ears. Jidongo in Bulambuli says, no hopes. Every time we have a budget read, the government does something to show perhaps the people who are the taxpayers, also the funders from abroad, that it is fighting corruption, since part of our budget and the money is taken by a few individuals who don't even contribute to 5% of the country. Last financial year, we had the Mabat thieves, and all of them were summoned, and we all were excited as a country. But what happened next? I am not seeing the future or any hopes in the current arrests of the MPs. It is always the same and game after the budget. All right, Jidong. Someone says, I am Peters from Olivo, Ara camp. I think that is a refugee camp. He says, what happened to the life auditing? Because it was going to catch so many thieves unaware, and it was going to expose so many, and we're going to have so much being returned into the consolidated fund. But what happened to it? I would have to ask the IG. Also, someone says, the IG needs to be empowered and needs to empowered as an biggest institution of government, and if empowered, it will handle all the corruption cases rather than dividing the institutions into so many, like State House and Corruption Unity and many others that I've had. Why not build one institution to do this? This would give the thieves an opportunity to be handled by different institutions rather than one which would be empowered. Okelo says that the thieves have opted for more new techniques. What new techniques does the IG have to get the thieves? If they have opted for keeping money in their houses and not the banks or constructing, then the IG needs to think of new techniques in finding out who is stealing from the poor. Keep your messages coming through and calling also on 776-511-426 to share your opinion. Someone says, I'm Omara from Tororo. I agree with Victor that I want to agree with him that killing the corrupt will save this country. Someone says, UBC?
Hello?
You are live and clear.
Yes, this is Timothy from Kaberamaido.
Timothy from Kaberamaido, yes, you are clear.
Yes, thanks for the program.
You're most welcome, sir.
My question goes to Doctor, the lady of the IGP department.
Yes.
How are they organized themselves as the IGP department? Because some of these culprits are brought on board and there's no proper follow-up. Like for example, Kalaki. A district planner was arrested because of stealing money, and to switch off the phone, plus the cow, and then everything has gone down. The current LLCFI was in touch of just getting money to recruit what the staff is the system, and the thing has kept quiet. How are they organized as a team, themselves? Because I'm seeing they don't follow up things they are doing. Thank you.
Most welcome. This is UBC Ground Zero, and we give you a platform especially to the citizens of this country. We believe that you are stakeholders when it comes to the national development, and these issues really concern you and concern us. UBC Ground Zero.
Yes.
You're live and clear.
Thanks, the moderator.
All right.
I'm Okutu Tom calling
from
Iganga.
Iganga. All right.
Now, Iganga municipality.
All right.
Perhaps the issue of corruption, it is okay, but only there are some things that I always fail to understand. Now, corruption needs to be defined to people. What exactly corruption means? That is what the people should understand. Because
your network, sir? We're unable to get to hear you very well. I wish you can get a better network and call us again. UBC Ground Zero, utilizing the preliminary results of the Census 2024 for national development. What do you think needs to be done? We are talking about 45.9 million Ugandans, increased 11.3 million Ugandans. UBC Ground Zero.
Hello.
You're live and clear.
Yes, thank you. I'm Idrissa Jafar from Kajansi.
All right.
In the first place, I would like to thank God for getting this golden chance to talk to you this live.
You're welcome.
And my opinion to corruption in this country is that I really don't know why people are suffering, why citizens of this country are suffering, yet the president is there. And who is supposed to be the one to solve all these problems? And if you talk about the side of corruption where the leaders are doing all these things, most especially in Parliament, like the colleague that talked about Anita Mong, about the iron seats, and this the president who is aware about all these things, and he couldn't just wake up and talk about the real thing. So according to my understanding, it should be the president to wake up one day and put the real thing on the side of corruption, and that's why I think it will be solved. Otherwise, with that president waking up to talk about the issue of corruption strongly, I don't see any reason as to why it will be stopped. Thank you.
Okay. UBC Ground Zero, people of Uganda are sharing their concerns about the topic. We had promised to get in touch with Apasco Mhanji, who is the economist from Access Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, to help us understand the economic part of this, and also understand when it comes to the increased population above about 45. Mhanji, you're live and clear on UBC radios, 5 radio stations tuning in to this edition of UBC Ground Zero.
Thank you. Good morning, UBC.
Good morning to you. You may introduce yourself to the listener who is part of us from the other side of radio.
Okay. My name is Pascal Muhanji, and I'm an economist working with CSBAG, that is Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group.
All right. Thank you for being part of us today's edition. We are talking about the 45, according to the preliminary results of the Census 2024 population census, 45.9 million Ugandans. From the economic point of view and from your perspective, what does this number mean to you?
45 million Ugandans, the population has grown quite significantly since the last census. But that is a global figure. I think it's the detail that we should be focusing on, especially when you look at the demographics. How many are the young people? How many are the adults? How many are in the working group population? I think that is where the matter should be. For example, if you find out that half the population of Uganda, they are children 17 years and below, I think that is an issue that the government needs to look at critically, because it brings in a lot of issues. First of all, it can be a good thing because that means there is a lot of potential for future workers. We may have very many future workers, and that is a very good thing for the economy. We can also have that means if these guys in the next 5-10 years start working, that means increased revenue. But now the challenge is that for most countries that have very young populations, half the population being children, in most cases they have inadequate economic activities to realize the potential that such a population holds. You find you have a very young population, but then you don't have where to employ them. And that is why there are issues of unemployment, there are issues of low school going children. There is high dependence burden. Such a population actually can cause a lot of dependency. You find you have so many children that are depending on very few adults. I was looking at the average household size, 4.4. You find a household have, on average, they have 4.4 people. But in most cases, you find that in that household, there are only 2 people or one working, the mother and the dad, others are all dependents. So that puts a stress on these few people that are working, and they have to cater for the needs of these so many people that are not working. And it is something that should be looked at seriously.
Okay.
Yes,
How
please.
best can we maximize this data for national development?
I think the first thing we can look at is because the data is good, it can inform budgeting, it can inform resource allocation. For example, if you have a young population, the first thing to do is investing in the social sector, things to do with education, access to health, investing in interventions like ending early child marriages, early pregnancies, ensure the issues of family planning. Because one of the reasons why we have such demographics is because there is high birth rate, our life expectancy is slightly going up, and then we have a reduction in the mortality rate. So that's why we are seeing the shift in the demographic situation for Uganda. So there is need to invest in quality and the quantity and quality of education. Quality, talk about what is, children are studying at school, but then the quantity, how many years does the child spend at school? We need to make sure that we enable private sector growth, because it is the private sector that is going to employ these guys when they start working. We have the working age population. I was looking at projections according to Vision 2040. By 2017, every year would have about 800 entrants into the labor market. Those are the new people entering the market, minus the people that are retiring. But the projections for 2040, we are going to be having 1.25 million people every year joining the labor market. So if we don't use such data to start preparing for such scenarios, then we are not going to benefit so much in this from such census.
Okay. Having a young population, is this a worry or something we should celebrate as a country as we end our conversation here?
It is something we can celebrate because that it is a potential. It is potential. We have potential for increased income in the future, for increased workforce. But on the other hand, if we don't prepare well and create for this young population, it is something that we can worry about, because that means if you don't prepare well, then you're going to have increased unemployment in the future. You're going to have increased dependence burden in the future. So we can celebrate it, but on the other hand, we must prepare so well for this kind of population.
I am glad you said it is a productive population, and we should be ready to celebrate the future, but only when we have planned for that. I thought you were going to be part of the perception about the Generation Z, which we are all was scared and worried about.
No.
Your final comment, sir?
My final comment is that we have gotten good data from the people that are doing statistics. Now the part for the other arms of government is to dive into this data and use it for proper planning for the nation at large.
Thank you for making time to talk to the people of Uganda on this big edition of UBC Ground Zero. May God bless you and have a good day.
Thank you. Good day.
Talking to us was Pascom Hanji, who's the economist and coming from a civil society budget advocacy group, railing his perception on what he thinks this census population census results mean to us as the country, but also looking at the economic part of this. Allow me, our dear listener, go back to the studios for my guest to answer and address all the concerns that you really shared. I will start with the IGG, Madam IGG.
Amon, and thank you very much, listeners, for the very important questions you have asked. We'll begin with Mr. Baguma Henry, asked about corruption, how we need to rebaptize corruption to be theft, changing the term. Because people are really taking it out of hand. In the 70s, corruption was looked at from the perspective of bribery. And you realize that today, corruption in the Anti-Corruption Act has been defined as the use of public office or authority for private gain. And it manifests itself in different forms. It can be through bribery, extortion, nepotism, fraud, influence peddling, theft of public funds or assets, causing financial loss, false accounting in public affairs, abuse of public property, among others. So you find that corruption manifests itself in several forms. So we cannot just rebaptize it as theft because it includes theft and so many other acts or forms of corruption, including extortion, bribery, or even behavior of leaders. So corruption is one of the major obstacles that are undermining Uganda's economy, as well as the long-term development we are talking about, because it affects citizens in their everyday lives, as it contains in their access to basic facilities and vital public services like healthcare and so on. Juma, all there from Nebi, thank you for the question you asked, and you are talking about DPP, CID, DPC. How do we serve our summons? How are we able to balance the law? Well, we have got a number of institutions fighting corruption, and each institution has got its mandate within the law with its responsibility. But you find that the investigative approach seems to be a shared one, and you find that sometimes we have situations of many cooks spoiling the meal. So many times the interagency forum of anti-corruption agencies basically comes in a coordinated manner, and responsibility is divided. Sometimes they say, CID, you will investigate this. IGG had started this, please hand over this file so that CID concludes, or State House Anti-Corruption Unit, do this jointly with this agency and finalize this within this time. So we do it in a coordinated approach. Like you did mention Parliament, the Office of the Auditor General had actually started the investigation, the audit on Parliament, and did issue a report with several recommendations for other agencies to take on. So you find that most of the recommendations they made were already, the Parliament had begun implementing them, but there are some that are pending for other agencies to take on. So you find that several of these agencies have got their responsibilities. And about issuing summons, you find that for us, as the Inspectorate of Government, we have got powers within the law to investigate, arrest or cause arrest, to prosecute or cause prosecution, to make orders and even give directives during investigations. We do assessing and searching. We enter and inspect premises or property. We even search a person or a bank account or safe deposit box and so on. So we have got those powers within the law. We issue summons in respect to the cases we're investigating. We summon people to come and make statements and basically enrich the cases we are investigating, and we strive to get very good quality evidence because we want to collect information of high evidential value to enable us successfully prosecute the subject offenses. So when you bring a case to us, we prefer to go into detail to unpack lots more than what has been revealed in the case. And sometimes you find that the case becomes an omnibus case, which unpacks lots of other offenses within one case. And John, I want to thank John from Palisa, who talked about population increasing and resources decreasing. Well, it is a challenge, but I think government needs to prioritize certain areas, like you've seen from the population report, there's an age group that is high in population compared to some of us that are heading towards retirement. Therefore, we need to plan, first of all, to see how we can improve on the health care of that population, how we can feed them, how they can get quality education. And I think it's a call for leaders out there to put all their energy towards mentoring, towards coaching, towards equipping the young generation, the youth, to become leaders of integrity. Melon from Bulambuli, thank you very much. And also, Gidongo, he said there is no hope, taxpayers' budget, money is taken by a few individuals. True, and that is why institutions like ours exist, so that you can report these cases to us. Peter from Rhino Camp, Olivu, Ajumani, he says IG needs to be empowered. For instance, in the IG, we have got laws which gives us powers like I've just shared. And he said there should be one institution to handle corruption cases. But here in Uganda, we have several institutions, like I said, the IAF. Well, I think citizens can assess and see if the several institutions is a better approach or just one institution. But in my perspective, I think we need a holistic approach where it's not just left to one institution, but several can do so. And that is the reason why we're calling for citizens to also rally behind us in the war against corruption, because it's the people's war. We need a holistic approach. Okello says thieves have opted for new techniques. Let us find out what the techniques are and what is it that we are doing as the Inspectorate of Government. We have got the lifestyle audit. How far is it going? Well, to give you confidence, Okello, in the Inspectorate of Government, we're already applying the lifestyle audit. We have got the lifestyle audit guidelines, which are guiding our investigators to investigate and study the pattern of someone's acquisition of wealth and to check and see if what he has as his income, assets and liabilities are commensurate to his well-known sources of income. So something we are already working on as the IGG. We are already implementing the lifestyle audit and we are making significant progress as well. Omara from Tororo says we need to go by what Victor says, we should kill the corrupt. Well, I don't think killing would be a better approach. I think we have a better, the Gen Zs could have these solutions, but if we know that you're killing a taxpayer also who should be contributing to national development. So if he has stolen, I think he needs to be disciplined, he needs to be punished within the law and put to order, and he will become a better citizen who will contribute to national development. Timothy from Kabera Maido says, how are they organizing? There is no proper follow-up. How is the IG organized? The issue of the district planner of Kalaki, the LC5, was involved in bribery in recruitment. Please, Timothy, if you could send that message directly to me. You can access my number from the IG office in Soroti. And you send it directly to me so that I follow it up. But I believe it's a matter which was being handled by the Directorate of Ombudsman Affairs within the Inspectorate of Government. Tomokuru Tromiganga says we need to define what corruption is to help people understand. And I think I have explained what corruption is. Jafali from Kajansi says the president should solve these problems. The issue of the iron sheets and which the president is aware about, and other corruption scandals. Recently, the president talked about syndicate corruption, giving an example of the Minister of Finance, accounting officers, and Parliament. And as the Inspectorate of Government, we are looking at how such challenges can be tackled. First of all, we are calling upon citizens to strengthen whistleblowing. We are mainstreaming transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption in all government, ministries, departments, and agencies, and even local government. And we are even strengthening the detection mechanisms using intelligence and so on. So detections are about strengthening intelligence within our own offices so that we don't react to corruption. At the end, we detect it early before it gets bad. And if I'm to talk about the strength of detection, it is basically preventive, it's efficient and cost effective, because we manage to get tip-offs from the people of these corruption syndicates before they are actually happening, and that way we save a lot more money. And this is the moving towards. That's the IG, together with the help of the citizens and use of other tools such as the lifestyle audits, which I've just talked about. All these are geared towards strengthening our detection mechanisms. And we are thinking about new innovative ways and approaches to deal with corruption. Right now, we are rolling out the transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption. But just like as I conclude, I think corruption is not about politics or political parties. It's about having this heart for our country. And we need to give a hope to the citizens out there. We need to give them hope and so that they know that they are able to benefit when we all join hands in the fight against corruption. When the citizen gets to know that he will benefit at the end of the day when he contributes in the fight against corruption, then he will ably come and participate willingly in the war against corruption. And like when we go for war, you need to detect the enemy very well. You need to scope the enemy and you need to use strategies to deal with the enemy. So when we give the citizens skills and equip them with knowledge on the effects of corruption and how corruption takes place, then they are able to demand for accountability from their leaders, from an informed perspective. So thank you very much, Amon. I hope I've been able to address the questions that were brought out towards me.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia, Deputy IGG. I'll bring in Generation Z as I come to you, Dr. Rwanga. Generation Z having serious suggestions to counteract on corruption. I am worried if you take over as you wish, how this country will be governed in the next future. Akansa Sra Victor.
Thank you so much, Ndugu Amon. I want to appreciate our lovely callers who really shared solutions and tried to follow our program. I want to agree with Ndugu Omara, who said that the thieves should be killed. And I agree on the fact that whoever kills our economy really doesn't like Uganda. Yes, they contribute towards the economic growth of the country because they pay taxes, but the same people still that is even somebody pocketing 1 billion. 1 billion can contribute to the education sector, can contribute to you go around Kampala, look at our roads in Kampala. There are a lot of potholes everywhere just because somebody is stealing, pocketing 1 billion, and nobody is concerned. And you find some leaders are even trying to safeguard such a thief. I also agree with the point of Henry Baguma that we need to change the nomenclature to the fact that people are really romancing the language, romancing corruption, I love the fact that IGG tried to give us the definition on corruption, including embezzling, but let us all agree and call it theft, thuggery of the highest order, than just calling it corruption and then people try to talk and at the end of it all you find the young people are the ones who are affected. Ndugu Amon, on the point of I one day heard about the IGG, Honorable Betty Kamya, saying that I inherited corruption in my office. And I think the IGG is trying to do its best to set policies, to supervise. I think the whole point is about patronage. Our seniors, I had the Honorable from UPC.
If I can borrow some minutes, sir, for a caller. UBC, ground zero.
Yes, moderator.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Your name and where you calling from?
Diana from Ginger.
Okay.
I want to thank Dr. Patricia for presenting us the females on the program.
Okay. All right. After all, the women are contributing the biggest number on the population. That
it is true.
Time is not on my side. If you can end on that.
Yes. The president himself.
At least we had so many men calling in. It was great.
Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has tried to set a couple of institutions to fight corruption, including the State House Anti-Corruption Unit. Look at the Interagency Forum Against Corruption. look at the IGG, look at the Office of the Auditor General, look at the Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, look at the Directorate of Public Prosecution, DPP, look at the Public Procurement and Disposal Public Assets Authority. I want to really, how can all these fail to fight corruption in this country? What about these NGOs? What about these the civil society organizations that are all coupling, coming up to fight corruption? I really think there is a problem. If the president, the vice president, the speaker of the parliament, the prime minister, ministers, cabinet ministers, all of them come up and say no corruption, to hell with the corruption, I think there is no Tom and Jerry in whichever office will pocket even 100 shillings in this country. Then Ndugu Amon on the UBOS statistics. I want us members to agree that the demographics and the statistics that were given on the issue to do with the percentage of the young people, if you look at 0 to 17 years, 18 to 30 years, I think this is too small for this country, because in the previous years we used to categorize it in 78% of the young people.
Okay.
How comes that it is even below 78? Yet it should be shooting to 85% of this country.
Okay. What do you take of about 11.3 million people over the last decade? And if you can give me your parting shots as we end our conversation today. Victor?
Yes, thank you so much, Ndugu Amon. I really believe that there's a lot to do. If you can look at the National Youth Policy of 2016 that urges that there should be education, training, and capacity building that caters for health, community, and technology, youth involvement and capacity building. Look at gender and environment management, recreation and sports, recreation, sports, and leisure. I think the country has a lot to do to ensure that the young people are really involved in the governance and the sports, because these are young people. They need sustainable skills so that they can basically compete with other countries like the Asian tiger countries. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Then I'll cross over to you, Dr. Luanga, answering questions, concerns from the people of Uganda, especially those who are part of us from the other side of radio. And then I'm worried that time is not on my side. I would request, as you're ending, you will give us your parting shots. Dr. Luanga?
Yes, thanks very much, Comrade Amon, for this wonderful program. And for our listeners up there who have called in and raised a number of issues, yes, I strongly understand where you are coming from and why you are indeed very much bitter with this sort of situation to do with corruption. However, I have to say something here, that indeed we are all suffering, and as UPCI represent, all that corrupt money is taxpayers' money, and it is the taxpayer who is denied of the money. And once the taxpayer is denied of the money, so many things go wrong, and even his life expectancy may come shorter. So in that situation, we need to resurrect core values, and we respect the responsibility we have as citizens and the responsibility we have as workers. So in this situation, you have to really sympathize with the various institutions we have, which are finding it very difficult to apprehend the corrupt people, because the corrupt people, it seems, they are ahead of our systems, and because they are ahead of our systems and they are having a lot of resources on themselves, they are even very difficult to chase. It is like a dog chasing a thief, and that thief is having a huge bag with the bones. He will go along the way dropping one, and confusing the dogs. So we have to sympathize with them, and then also to know that we are now dealing with the various types of corruption. This digital age has made it easy for people to communicate and for people to transact. But at the same time, it has come with the cyber crime. And this cyber crime, all white collar crime, requires our institutional capacity to be at its best. I will repeat this statement once again that I was happy, is it last year, when police headquarters, it was announced that special branch is going to be brought back in the system of the police. Special branch is the one which has an up-to-date register on each and every citizen, okay, of the country. And if you have such an institution with experienced people who are running it, and they have that, your lifestyle audit is already done by special branch, which you just need to approach. But we don't have it. Maybe it has been reconstituted. Once it is reconstituted, all these issues will go under, will vanish one day. However, on behalf of UPC and myself, there is something we are trying to advocate, though it hasn't captured the attention. Why don't we have a fully-fledged commission of inquiry to probe into these things and make decent recommendations to the government, and the government studies those recommendations and knows how to move? Because why am I saying it? It is not very good for the image of the parliament, which is an arm of the government, to hear so and so is the thief, so and so is the thief, so and so is suspected. Why don't we sit down, have a commission? On the basis of the commission, we get the details. Okay, you will say I'm a thief, I say I'm not a thief. You will say no, you arrested you at Natete police station. No, you are in Ruzida. You are appearing today, and we have known also government systems arresting people and failing to prosecute them. All those people get, they say, we haven't found any case. And here, the situation has been created, the negativity has been created, and in most cases, the government ends up compensating for the people. So at times, the arrests are premature. At times, the arrests lack a solid evidence, but we would still welcome the idea, if it was possible, to have a really real commission of inquiry. I think we had this sort of situation in the 60s when the army commander, Amin, was accused of stealing money from Congo. When it went on the floor of parliament, again, the prime minister was accused also to be part of the racket. Two of his ministers, Nechoni and Felix Onama, were equally accused. But Parliament agreed to form a decent commission of inquiry. And on the basis of that commission of inquiry, which had the East African judges, Amin was found to have been even given more money, but not in bad faith that he was stealing it. He was using that money to help the Lumumbisti rebels. And other ministers, and together with the prime minister, they were found innocent. But the manner, the integrity at which it was handled, it was very good. So I'm asking myself, is it very difficult to have a commission of inquiry, probe parliament, offer all evidence, and come up with recommendations, other than having these flying stories? Our friend from IGG tried to say that corruption has nothing to do much. It cannot be aligned to political parties. Yes, political parties have a specific interest, especially with the welfare of the citizenry. Once money has disappeared and the citizens are not happy, or they are receiving substandard goods, then a political party comes in and makes the right noise. And you will see UPC on the rooftop saying this road is not perfect because the money was stolen. So in that situation, we indeed come in and we talk tough. our other listeners who really want to support Generation Z, Victor here, that get a corrupt, kill him, get a corrupt, strangle him, get a corrupt, do what? I also experienced it yesterday in our ideology school at Uganda House when one of my senior students, Xavier Oluku, also said I'm very soft, maybe because I'm coming from Exile. Another one also, Christine Nantege, said it is as if I'm sheltering thieves. Okay, they were so much against me, but I tried to tell them that please, let us calm down the nerves, and two wrongs don't make a right. So I would still appeal to Generation Z, not to go for an eye policy. It can damage Uganda very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rwanga.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Summing it all, Dr. Patricia Chan, Deputy IGG, if you can help us sum it all as we end our program today.
Thank you very much. Amon, I would like to thank the listeners out there for making time and their invaluable contributions through the questions. We have seen that the face of corruption in Uganda is no longer an invisible one, and the corrupt and those who are living in extravagant lifestyles over and above their known incomes are now more visible. The role of the citizens in illuminating the face of corruption cannot be underscored. And indeed, I want to thank the citizens because they are now more awake and they have taken an active role in exposing, in pointing out, in ridiculing any semblance of corruption in the country. So for me, mine is to call upon Ugandans to continue reporting cases of corruption. Let us not hide in lamentation. We need to join hands and deal with the problems we have squarely. We need to have constructive dialogue as we seek for more and better solutions. And as the Inspectorate of Government, we appreciate positive criticism because it helps to improve the Inspectorate, it helps to improve government as well. And the Inspectorate of Government, we are going to continue employing both the proactive preventive approaches and reactionary approaches for enforcement methods in the fight against corruption. So thank you very much. We have the client's charter and we have the call center. So anytime there is an issue, please reach out to the Inspectorate of Government and we'll be very, very happy to swing into action so that we clean up this country together. Thank you very much. God bless you and have a fruitful day ahead.
Dr. Patricia Chan, Career Deputy IGG, for making time to come and talk to the people of Uganda. As you had some very appreciative for you to come through and talk to them. They always long for this voice, but also long to hear from the horse's mouth, especially when it comes to fighting corruption, which keeps watering down all the achievements that we're supposed to realize and achieve as a country. Thank you, Dr. Christopher Rwanga, coming from UPC, for always making time to come through for this edition, and the Generation Z representative on the program, Kada Kansas Junior Victor, for making time to come through, and most importantly, to you, our dear listener from the other side of radio. We are always here because we know that you're always there, and most importantly, also to you, the callers, and those who sent in your messages. You really contributed so much into this program. We can only build this country when we are together. Together we can. And for God and my country, Ambaire Amon Otega is my name. Many programs are coming your way on UBC Butebo in Eastern Uganda, Voice of Bundubujo in Bundubujo, West Nile Radio in Arua, Magic 100 FM in Kampala, and Jojo Ngobi is coming your way with On the Journey on UBC Radio. This program is always there on repeat or repeated on Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. You can always create time and also listening. And it's always there on YouTube. You can just put UBC Radio and you can always share and be part of the conversations always. For God and my country, I'm Paide Amon Otega. Allow me now to sign out.
Was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
As Uganda works towards Vision 2040, UBC Radio is dedicated to the development of Uganda. Join us every day for transformative programs in English, Swahili, and Luo. This is UBC Radio.
This is UBC Radio. Tune in for news.
At UBC Radio, we bring you Uganda's latest news and information.
Focus on Parliament.
What we need to do, the Prime Minister must give us the position before we finalize with the budgeting process.
Enjoy sports. The environment. Politics.
The mission we have is socio-economic transformation.
Health. Entertainment. Updates in education. On the farm. Keep tuned into UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Are you a Ugandan earning below 1 million shillings per year? Government of Uganda is strategically putting PDM for you to get you out of poverty. PDM is an initiative of the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform the lives of all Ugandans for better.
Get to know more about PDM in your parish by tuning in. We bring you experts to explain, clarify, educate, and interact with you on how to benefit from PDM.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
Every Saturday, UBC Radio broadcasts the Information Hub.